It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.
Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, we've got a special guest. We always get people over here from Evergreen Park Community High School, and I've never talked with the assistant principal, and just sitting here as I was getting everything warmed up, I've learned he does an awful lot. Rob McCarthy is here. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Chris. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming by. So why don't we just start off with the obvious question? Like, what exactly does the assistant principal at Evergreen Park Community High School do? Is this like something where you're just waiting in the office until the moment that something bad happens to the principal? They've got to push him out of the way. You step in, right? Like he falls in battle. You pick up the flag and just keep going that day, or do you have other roles?
You nailed it. That's exactly what I do.
You're like in hibernation. You just sit in the office, and they just have to break glass, unlock the door, and you spring into action.
That's it. You got it. Well, it's not that dramatic, but what I do is I'm basically the operations. I deal with student discipline. I deal with the day-to-day operations of the school, as far as residency checks, interventions with the MTSS team. I also oversee the driver's ed department and.
Driver's ed?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I got a kid that I've had two now. I got one that's in college, so she's been driving for a while. I believe in her. I believe that she can do what she's doing. The other one, I don't know what his deal is. Like, he's so good at it compared to his sister when he started, and so nervous about it. That's how he gets himself into trouble. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, dude, you can do this. And I've had this theory. You tell me if I'm wrong about it, because you oversee driver's ed. Mm-hmm. I have a theory that kids, and generally boys, play video games more than girls. But if a girl does it, that might help them as well. That play like games that need quick decisions, and especially games where there's driving involved, seem to have greater instincts. Like, I always felt that like I took to it really quickly. And my dad said that. He was like, it's because he sits up there and he plays that stupid game all day long where like he's got to make a decision or the game's all screwed up. So he's got to like quickly like process and do something. And like, I always thought there might be a correlation between gaming and being able to pick up quickly the ability to make decisions while the car is moving.
I think that's a big part of it. I think as far as driving, anything that increases your hand-foot-eye coordination and all of that working together is a benefit.
Yeah.
Gaming, sports, athletics, even musical instruments. I think all of that, when you work with the coordination, I think that's
music.
Benefit.
That's a good call on that one as well. I would think music, because I mean, like, I remember the thing I was taught in driver's ed was the idea that you're not doing a good job if you're waiting till you get to the intersection where the problem is to make a decision.
100%.
You want to be looking 2 blocks ahead and saying, when I get there, this is what my plan is. So if you've already kind of thought about that, like when you're reading music and you're playing, like you're not only reading the music in front of you, you know it's coming a couple of bars in front of you, or otherwise you're not going to be able to.
You always have to look ahead.
You're always doing the look ahead on
what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that makes an awful lot of sense. So I know that you started off as a dean, right? Or no, not as a dean, as a PE teacher.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you were a dean, and then assistant principal.
Yes.
But you still oversee what goes on with the deans. Deans always fascinate me because I had deans in high school that were crazy. They were nuts. I had this one dean. He used to stand up on the roof and stand over the students as they walked into the school with a walkie-talkie for no apparent reason. Like, it wasn't like I was in a school that had real problems. Like, It was a pretty calm, chill school. But he would stand there, like, at attention and look down at you. Like, and you were just like, oh, don't screw up, man. He's watching you. Like, that's like, and it would become like, but then it would also become a joke, like with the walkie-talkies. We'd be like, what's he doing? Do you think he's got a code word? He's like red squirrel, the blue fox.
Ready.
Like
he's ready.
He was geared up and ready for every single day.
Yes.
So that's why I've always found deans very interesting, because mine were nuts when I was in high. They were just they would walk around. They would pop out from behind the corner. Like, you'd just be talking, and all of a sudden they'd be like, gentlemen, and everybody would like jump 5 feet in the air. So like, I mean, is it still that way?
We have our hiding spots. No, I wouldn't say it's that way. What we try to do in our dean's office is build a rapport and relationship with the students and the families of Evergreen Park. I mean, this is, like you said, you mentioned, I started off as a PE teacher here at Evergreen Park. Well, I started as a PE teacher actually in Dixon, Illinois.
Okay.
And then I've worked pre-K through high school during my time. And
so you've done a lot. I mean, if you think about what you've done, they're all very different jobs. So
Correct.
it's almost as if you got into the profession and then you're like, I'm going to be a teacher. Like essentially it's like, I'm going to be a teacher. And then you start to find the things that you're drawn to, that you like to do, that you
Correct.
like, you find that you enjoy more, and you weave this path and get to the point where you're working as a dean and so forth.
100%. When I was young, I wanted to, experience a lot of different avenues of education. I wanted to, I really wanted to do pre-K through high school, and I was able to do that. I was blessed to do that. I started off as a health teacher, 6 classes of health a day, then moved into physical education. And then I came to Evergreen Park in 2004.
Okay.
As a physical education health driver's ed teacher. I also coach football, basketball, and track. I was the head girls track coach at the time.
Oh my gosh!
And
you're like some guy like in one of these movies who's like working as a teacher, and like they do the montage, like the 80s montage,
Yes.
And like 1 minute he's like hitting coffee spilled on him while some girl's driving over a curb, and then the next minute he's trying to like run the track team, and it's like you picked up a lot.
Yes. I loved the experience, and then when I came to Evergreen Park, I found the place that I love. It was a dream come true, working there as a PE teacher, and I never wanted to leave. I left I got my master's degree, and I wanted to get the experience.
Right.
At the time I was there was a great dean, John McGuire. He was there as the dean. He had been there for a long time, and I left to get experience as a dean. And I told the principal at the time, Dr. Hart, who was a fantastic leader at the school, that I wanted to come back, but I wanted to come back with the experience. So I had that experience to lead a dean's office. So as fate would have it, John McGuire left. I interviewed, I got the job, and I was the dean for 2 years,
right.
In the office, and then I became an assistant principal, and I've been there for 11 years now. So I started in 2004. 7 years off, and I'm back this is my 11th year, and I love every minute of it.
You see these things, like I'm one of these people that, I'll start doom scrolling like on videos and stuff like that. And somehow I'll end up on like school fights, and like, it looks like if you believe the stuff you see on social media, there are kids that run wild in high schools,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and nobody will do anything to stop them because they're afraid to stop them. Whereas like when I was in school, I remember one time some kid walked down the hallway and knocked some other kid on the ground. And as he stood over him, the dean came out of nowhere, because that's what they were. They were like Spider-Man. They would just come out of nowhere and lift him off the ground and pinned him to the wall. And then you never saw that kid again. Like he was just out of school.
Right.
So like, I'm sure you've seen that kind of stuff. How do you, as somebody who oversees like the deans and as somebody who's worked as a dean, how do you make sure it never gets to that point? Is it something where you're identifying problems and things before it gets to the point where that stuff we see in those videos? Because it had to have built up before you see like the crazy scene that like you'll find, like, so look at what happened in this high school and look at what this kid did. And it's like, they had to, he probably wasn't a model student leading up to that, right? So it's probably identifying things. So how do you prevent those things from happening?
Well, I'm blessed to work in a great community with great families and with great students. That's the one of the major things that drew me to this community. Evergreen Park is a safe school. It's a great school. The kids are great. So we don't have a lot of those issues, because I believe that we're proactive. We communicate with our students. We communicate with our families, and we build that rapport. We build that relationship. You'll see me and the deans in the hallways, and the social workers, the counselors, the other administration, the teachers in the hallways, talking to kids, building those relationships, fist bumping kids, and asking them about their day. When there is student conflict, the students are on the ground level. When I talk to the kids, it's not up to us. It's not up just to the staff, just to the administration, just to the deans to prevent unfortunate events, fights, or what have you. It's up to everybody, and the students are on the ground level, so they know what's going on. So the benefit of communication, by in all directions is crucial in building those relationships, and having not just relationships, but trusting relationships. Relationships where students feel comfortable talking to you, students feel comfortable reporting things. We have anonymous systems of reporting things. We have incident reports where students can report anything. Well, families can report anything. We have an anonymous tip line where a student or a family or a community member can send a message to my voicemail 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just so we can stay proactive and stay on top of these things. And
it's culture building.
It's culture building. It's culture building for sure.
And I would think it's also the kid needs to know that if they do come to you, somebody's going to do something about it. Because if they start to feel like that's not going to happen, like I know that my daughter had a problem at one point when she was in high school, went to her dean, and the dean was like, we're not letting this stand, and went and took care of it. Like, I mean, that's probably very important, because if that doesn't happen, the kid goes, well, then why am I reporting it? Then they start trying to figure out how to take care of it on their own. Then there's no communication, and then all of a sudden you lose the school.
And that's where that trust comes into play. And it's not just with the students, it's with the family and the community as well. And we really strive to communicate on that. We started this system of communication where it's automated this year. Whenever a student's written a referral from a teacher for a disciplinary action, and it's processed by the dean's office, it automatically goes to the parents via email. Also attendance. Attendance is very important, and we really want to focus on having the best attendance in the conference, the South Side, on the tops of the state. Like we really want to get our kids in the school because that's the best, safest place for them. And I truly believe that. And so attendance is reported twice a day to the families automatically if they're marked absent. If a student does have conflict, we want them to know that they can come to us, and we really push communication, positive, effective communication. So we focus on mediations, and we if there's conflict, we sit the students down and we talk. Even if there is a major conflict, something that's been brewing for a long time, we sit down at the table, we talk, and during those mediations, we figure out how we're going to move forward together peacefully. And those have been very successful.
And it's not just discipline. You are doing something. I remember this already. I've heard this from some of the folks that have already come over from the school over the last 6 months. There's almost like a reward system right now for good stuff.
Yes.
Right? Which is, I mean, we didn't get that when I was a kid. There's no such thing like, hey, you were good today. Here's a reward. That didn't happen.
Yeah,
that's a very different way of thinking. You know, my generation, your generation, nobody sat there and said, good job, big guy. Here's a reward. Nobody did that to you.
Right.
So it was only when you screwed up they came and found it. That was it. So, I mean, this is interesting. So explain this to me because it's foreign to me.
Right. So, like, I oversee our MTSS team, multi-tier systems of support, and that consists of counselors, social workers, the nurse, deans, and it's a great team. And we sit there and we talk about students and how we help. The dean's office should not just be doom and gloom. It should not be just strict discipline.
It should not be a shadowy figure standing on the roof staring down at you.
Correct. Right. Exactly. It should not be that. It should be a place for help. Yeah. And I look at discipline as it's got to be taught. It's got to be taught. And the students that are doing the right thing, they should be rewarded. And we do a good job at Evergreen Park of rewarding those positive behaviors. And I want to continue to do those things. We just recently, Wednesday night, had a gym and swim where we opened the gym up from 6 to 8 o'clock, and we had students come in who qualified.
If they've done well, they were invited to it.
If they've done well with attendance and discipline and things like that, they're invited to it, and they were able to do basketball, volleyball. There was a jumpy. They were able to swim.
Is it generally the majority of the students qualify for that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We. I'm
wondering if it's like a small group, like you 5 people qualified, or if if it's the majority of the school.
Hundreds. Okay. The majority. Yes. We, like I said, we have a great student population.
Yeah.
99% of our students will qualify for it.
Yeah.
And the goal is to have 100% of the students qualify for it, and we'll keep striving for that. But they were also able to do laser tag, which they loved. I mean, the more things we can do. Oh, we also had a movie night on our football field with the on the jumbotron.
Do you get good attendance?
We do.
You might think that it's a simple thing, right? To be like a dean or to be somebody that's looking over all this different stuff, because it's basically like, stand on top of a roof and crack the whip, right? But it's not that. It seems like it's far more involved, and it seems like you guys have a very intricate way of doing things, and the name of the game is communication and culture, and it's paying off for Evergreen Park, and I appreciate you stopping by. Rob McCarthy, the assistant principal at Evergreen Park Community High School.
I appreciate being here, and anytime. I hope to come back sometime.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.